Hello! Hey friend, my name is Belle and this is my 1.5 year update with my copper IUD. If you clicked on this video, you either really love me as a person or you're someone who is sexually active and you're either tired of your current birth control method or you're curious about the copper IUD. Either way, glad you're here. Say hey, Malachi. I've already posted 3 videos on this. I posted one of the insertion process, and like 6 days later I did a month update and I did a 6-month update, and now it's been a while. I'm sorry if you wanted more updates, but this is an almost 2-year update, and I'm gonna put all the information I can in this video so you won't have to watch those 3 videos, but if you're curious about those 3 videos, I will link them down below. So I'm going to be covering insertion, bleeding, menstrual cycle changes, sex with the IUD, convenience, connection with my moon cycle, and that's about it. So I hope you enjoy. I hope it's informational for you. So for those of you who don't know, the copper IUD is the only non-hormonal IUD available right now. And I think how it works is the copper is wrapped around the IUD, and the copper is actually like this sperm repellent. So anytime semen gets close to it, it's like, sperm be gone! So the beginning of my birth control journey, I was on birth control pills. I was on the pill, I think, from when I was 16 until I was 21, so that's a solid 4 years I was on the pill, and I remember it always just being a bitch, like always having to re-up the prescription, always having to take the pill at the same time every day. I never took it at the same time every day. Like, I remember missing a day and then taking 2 the next day. It just, for Belle, it just never worked out very well. So I moved to LA when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, I think just living on my own, thinking for myself, beginning my spiritual journey and my awakening. I just started realizing, like, why am I putting these things into my body? Period. I don't think I realized that back then, but I started going vegan and started feeling for myself. And I know that Western traditional medicine has been great for the world, but I think it's just getting out of hand. They just want to make money off you. Take this, take this, take this, oh, take this. It's like fucking with my hormones and my natural system that is perfectly fine. Nah. No. You feel me? So kind of reflecting on the copper IUD insertion process, that shit was painful. The feeling of it, if I could explain it in 2 words, is violating and extremely uncomfortable, but worth it. So worth it. 1.5 years later and I don't even think about it. Yeah, it's true, I don't even think about it. I think about it sometimes. Let me explain later. To get down to the nitty-gritty of it, 2 weeks before the insertion process, I had a consultation, and then a month after the insertion, I had a follow-up appointment where they made sure everything's all good, the IUD's in place and everything. And so day of the insertion, obviously nerve-wracking. If you're thinking about getting the IUD and you're nervous, it's natural. It's okay. Breathe. Breathe. During the insertion process, I had the gynecologist inserting the IUD, and then I actually had a nurse holding my hand, and I remember that being so comforting, because it felt at times like I was going to pass out. What I remember is 3 main cramps, and some people explain it as pinching. I remember looking at all of these reviews, and it was like it feels like a big pinch. It actually just felt like a menstrual cramp, but on steroids, like a super intense menstrual cramp. And there were 3 of them, and I think the 3 were, there was this tool that opens up the cervix a little bit, so that was the first cramp, and then the cramp stays. It's like pulsating, I remember contracting, And then the IUD insertion, that's the second cramp where it goes into your uterus. And then the third cramp, I think, was just making sure it's in place and taking the tools out. And I remember the cramping lasting, the intense cramping lasting for like 2 minutes, and they were just telling me to breathe, and like they were updating me like what was going on down there, like, okay, one more cramp, okay, one more, deep breath. So make sure you talk a lot to your gynecologist, basically, so you feel safe. After the insertion, I sat up, and at first I was like feeling fine, and then they went out of the room and said like, okay, get dressed and like meet us out front when you're ready. And I remember staying in that room for another like hour, and I remember them coming in and checking on me, and they gave me a lollipop because I just felt super lightheaded and nauseous. Yeah, that was really intense because I drove myself. Please have someone drive you if you're going to get an IUD inserted. Please have someone drive you. I should not have been driving in that state. I remember the cramps being intense. I had this foreign object within my uterus and I just felt uncomfortable. I somehow drove 45 minutes home and was fine. The intense cramping lasted, I think, for like 6 hours. Not intense, but it was like cramping. Like there's a foreign object inside me and my body was like, what the fuck? And I had low energy, had no appetite, and just wanted to sleep. I think I just went home and slept a lot. Vasovagal syncope. I think that's what the nausea came from, is vasovagal syncope. Syncope. Ah? Anyways, I looked it up because I was curious. It says a sudden drop in heart rate and blood pressure leading to fainting, often in reaction to a stressful trigger. So it's like when someone sees blood and they're like, it was like that, but not that intense. Oh, So I did get it inserted while I was on my menstrual cycle, which I think is easier. I don't know if your gynecologist will recommend this, but I'm pretty sure my gynecologist told me, like, let's make the appointment when you're usually on your menstrual cycle, because the cervix dilates during your menstrual flow, so the insertion process is actually easier. Which also brought me to some stats that I want to bring up about the idea that the traditional view that IUDs are only appropriate for women who have given birth and who've had children. And I remember thinking that. I remember IUDs like being like, oh, only for people who have had children because their cervix has opened wide enough for a baby to fit through. So it's like, I read something about the Mirena IUD, that's the hormonal IUD. When it was first being tested, it was only tested on women that have given birth to make sure that their uterus was the right size and nothing went wrong. So I think maybe that's where that information comes from. But anyone can get an IUD. I think there's also this IUD called the Skyla Iud, which I guess is smaller and has, like, it only lasts for 3 years and it releases less hormones. So if you want to do the hormonal birth control, I do not recommend it. I really enjoyed the copper IUD, but obviously personal preferences. The Paragard lasts 10 years. Maybe the 10-year Paragard lifespan is like intense for you to think about. Like, well, what if I want to have kids in 5 years? Like 10 years, that's a long commitment. You can get it taken out at any point in your IUD. In your IUD journey, you can get it taken out, and what I've heard is that the removal process is a breeze, is a lot easier than the insertion process. Thank fucking gosh. Thank gosh. Yeah? No, thank God. Thank you, God. Thank God. That's good news. That's really good news. Okay. Moving on. This is, I think, my most exciting noticing is I didn't know that I was disconnected from my moon cycle. I didn't know how much empowerment could come from learning about my moon cycle, feeling the spiritual gift and the sacred time that being on your moon cycle is. I didn't know these things. I feel like because females are conditioned in school and like society just to hide their period. Oh, blood. Oh, tampons. Oh. You know, like we're taught to hide it. We're not taught that it's sacred. We're taught that it's gross and it smells weird. So I think getting the IUD, doing the research myself, and choosing something that feels good for Belle and for her body, I think was empowering, period. And as time went on with the copper IUD, I feel like I just learned more about my moon cycle, and because I was focused on it, because it's like, I have an IUD within me, let me see what the changes are, what does it do to my body. I feel like just being hyper aware of that, it's made me hyper connected to my moon cycle, and I feel just super grateful for that. Now I've gotten used to my menstrual cycle being paired up, being synced up with the new moon, whereas a year ago, right after I got the copper IUD, it was synced up with the full moon. And I remember being so excited when I, like the first like 2-3 months, when my cycle would start the day of the full moon or like the day before the full moon. I remember that being just like fucking wild to me, absolutely insane, because I had never experienced that. I think my moon cycle always came at just random times. It was always late. Your menstrual cycle is always synced up with the moon, whether it lands on the full moon or new moon. Anyways, just want to clear that up. It's pretty lit. Yeah, overall, I just feel more connected. To talk about some changes that I've noticed about my body and my menstrual cycle before the copper IUD and after the copper IUD, blood flow and length of my cycle. I think before the copper IUD, my period lasted. See, I even feel disconnected from calling it period. I think that's an indoctrinated term, and period, I feel disconnected from the word period. So that's why I'm saying moon cycle and menstrual cycle so much more. So before the copper IUD, my moon cycle lasted around 3 to 4 days, and it was like a light medium flow. And now my moon cycle lasts 5 days and is like a medium flow, but the second day is always like super heavy. It's like I bleed on the sheets. But I actually just got some Thinx underwear that is like period underwear. Super cool. But I remember having really intense cramps in high school, and even at the month before I got the copper IUD, my cramps were like the worst that I've ever experienced them. And I have not experienced more intense cramps. That was weird wording. My cramps have been fine. When I do cramp, they always come later in the day. Like morning, I'm feeling fucking ready to tear shit up. Not really. I'm relaxed during my moon cycle. Usually quite internal, but you know what I mean. Hope I'm not talking your ear off. 2 other things that I noticed that showed up that were new once getting the copper IUD is I have backache sometimes, and I never remember having menstrual cycle backaches. So that kind of sucks because I already have backaches as it is. But again, it's not that often. The one thing that is often, monthly, is during my ovulation cycle, I actually have some cramping. I don't remember that happening when I was younger. Yeah, how much of it is the copper IUD and how much of it is me becoming a woman and my body changing. I don't know. Might be both. Could be both. Probably is both. But it's actually kind of cool. It's cool because it's like, oh, I'm cramping. Okay. I'm not on my moon cycle, so that means I'm on my ovulation cycle. So it's like my body lets me know when I'm ovulating. So I don't mind it. But that might be something that you mind. Yes, I know what I was gonna say. So it's been a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I haven't gotten another checkup. One reason is because I don't have healthcare anymore. I'm working on it. I was under my mom's healthcare and she passed away, so I haven't had any healthcare provider since my mom died. But I did get a comment on one of my videos saying to go to the gynecologist and get an ultrasound to make sure that your copper IUD is placed, has settled in a safe way. Obviously, I had that month checkup and they made sure everything was fine, and everything was fine. But since I haven't done one since, there are times where I have cramps and it's like, is my uterus okay? Has it shifted into a bad position? I don't know. So there's that worry sometimes. Having sex with an IUD. So basically, I think they tell you not to have sex for like 4 weeks after the insertion, maybe 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks. Once the IUD is inserted, there's a string, right, that will go through your cervix. That string has to be there so they can take it out and remove it eventually, right? So there's a string. And the first like month, the string is kind of stiff, right? And I remember my ex feeling it a couple times, but then basically the string softens. The string softens and just kind of lays against the cervix. Sorry with the hand motions. I'm not sorry. I think it's helpful for me. Visual learning. It's there, so you might feel it. Wow. Yeah, I don't even know how long I was just filming for, but I feel like it was a long time. But overall, my review is, holy shit, this thing is fucking great. The copper IUD is reliable, non-hormonal, as natural as you can get, really, for birth control. I don't have to think about it. Yeah, I hope this helped you in some way. Thanks for watching. Sending love to you, and hope you have a beautiful day. Malachi's sleeping in his crate, but he wanted to say bye to you as well. Maybe he'll be in more videos. So he's so precious.
Lost in my mind and it's hard to escape. Pausing the motion inside of my brain. Question my worth any time of the day. Gripping the whip because you drive me insane. Not afraid to die because my life's a game. Dream about life where I wasn't so vain. All of my demons are loose from their cage.